The story begins with a man pulling a cart along a deserted path. A soldier notices him and approaches to ask what the cart contains. The man responds that the cart holds a dead body, which he claims to have found deep in a forest. Intrigued, the soldier moves closer and lifts the cloth covering the body. He is immediately struck with shock upon seeing the state of the corpse. The soldier comments that the person wasn't even wearing proper armor, which he finds unusual. He begins to speculate, wondering if the deceased might have been someone reincarnated into this world. He explains that when weak individuals try to become adventurers, they often meet such tragic ends. The soldier examines the body more closely and points out that the wounds suggest an attack by worms or goblins. The corpse is gruesomely mutilated, covered in blood, missing its eyes and with several body parts torn apart. The scene transitions to an office environment where an older manager hands a stack of papers to a worker named Mizunori. The manager informs Mizunori that he isn't feeling well and is heading home early, leaving the remaining work to him. Mizunori hesitates and protests, pointing out that the workload is excessive. The manager, however, reassures him with a smile, insisting that Mizunori will handle it just fine, and then leaves without addressing Mizunori's concerns. Nearby, two coworkers whisper to each other about how unfairly Mizunori is treated, noting that he'll have to stay late into the night to finish everything. One of them starts to express sympathy, but the other quickly silences him, warning that if Mr. Matamizu overhears their conversation, he could fire them both. As the night progresses, Mizunori finally finishes his tasks and leaves the office. The street is dark and eerily quiet, with only the pale moon illuminating the surroundings. Staring at the sky, Mizunori signs and wishes he could catch the last train to avoid the long walk home. As he strolls through the empty streets, his thoughts turn to his co-workers and how they all know he's often given more work than anyone else. Yet none of them ever stand up for him. Mizunori reflects on how his personality makes him an easy target for others to take advantage of. Feeling drained, he thinks about how online games are his only source of joy, and one thing that helps him escape his monotonous life. A sense of hopelessness washes over him as he begins to wonder about his future, questioning if anything will ever change. When he reaches a zebra crossing, he stops for a moment, lost in thought. He ponders whether he's wasting his life, wishing he could do something more enjoyable. Suddenly, the ground beneath him starts to spin. Everything around him blurs, and he feels a strange sensation as if he's being pulled away. Moments later, he finds himself in an entirely unfamiliar place. The environment is stark white, stretching endlessly in every direction. Mizunori looks around in confusion, trying to make sense of what just happened. Fear creeps in as he realizes he has no idea where he is. As he scans the strange surroundings, a girl with long flowing hair appears, seemingly flying toward him. She is holding a teddy bear in her hands. Mizunori stares at her in disbelief, his fear intensifying. He wonders how someone could possibly fly and what kind of place he has ended up in. The girl approaches and asks if he thinks she's a woman. Embarrassed, Mizunori quickly apologizes, saying he's sorry if she's actually a man. She smirks and explains that her appearance changes depending on who's looking at her. She adds that the last person who saw her perceived her as a man. Mizunori finds this revelation hard to process. The girl then remarks that she might be a deity. Mizunori is taken aback by her words, struggling to believe her claim. She confirms that she is, in fact, a god. Hearing this, Mizunori is left speechless and filled with doubt. He expresses his disbelief, pointing out that her behavior and manner of speaking don't seem very godlike. The girl responds by criticizing Mizunori, claiming that Japanese people are often faithless and ungodly. She admonishes him, demanding that he show more respect when addressing a god. Mizunori apologizes again but admits that he's completely lost and doesn't understand what's happening to him. The girl, unbothered, casually eats chips with her hands while continuing their conversation. Mizunori, noticing this, suggests that she use chopsticks to keep her hands clean. She glares at him, asking if he really thinks it's appropriate to tell a god how to eat. Realizing his mistake, Mizunori apologizes once more, feeling increasingly awkward. He then asks her where they currently are, hoping for some clarity. The girl looks at him with mild amusement and questions if he hasn't figured it out yet. She then reveals that he fell into a dimensional rift and in the process died. Now he is being reincarnated into another world. Mizunori is stunned by this revelation, his mind racing with questions. The girl explains further, gesturing with her hand to open a glowing map that appears mid-air. She points to a globe-like image resembling Earth and explains that this is the world where Mizunori will be reincarnated. The place is called Urgard. She goes on to elaborate that while this world shares similarities with Earth, it is far more dangerous due to the presence of deadly creatures. Surviving in such a hostile environment will be especially challenging for someone like him, a reincarnated individual with no prior experience in this kind of world. He says that he is just an ordinary office worker and wonders aloud how someone like him can possibly survive in this unfamiliar world. Hearing his concerns, she offers him comfort with a reassuring tone and presents him with a glass board. She explains that she especially prepared this for him as a gift. She further clarifies that this is not an ordinary gift, but a board of skills. Curious, he asks her if it is similar to the skill boards that are often found in video games. She smiles and confirms that it is indeed similar, but much more powerful. She explains that this board is a device designed to help him unlock and develop his true potential. If he uses it correctly, he can gain incredible power, acquire any occupation he desires, and lead a successful second life. However, she warns that if he misuses it, the board could make him extremely selfish and harm his chances of living a fulfilling life. She tells him she believes in his sincerity and seriousness, and she is confident he will use it wisely. Her words seem comforting, but Mizunori is still deeply shocked. Worry starts to creep in, and he nervously asks her what exactly she means by all of this. Sensing his anxiety, she reassures him once more and explains that the time has come for his old body to be left behind. His soul must now be transferred into a new body. Hearing this, Mizunori hesitates and insists that he is not ready for such a drastic change. In response, the fairy speaks softly but firmly, thanking him for paying attention to the advice she had given earlier. As a token of gratitude, she offers to share a lesson from God. She tells him, God provides you with what you truly need. Do not waste these gifts. Instead, do what you believe is right and just. Before Mizunori can fully process her words, she begins the soul transfer. He suddenly loses consciousness and everything around him fades into darkness. When he finally wakes up, he is overwhelmed by shock and disbelief. He realizes he has been reincarnated, but he doesn't understand where he is. Looking around, he finds himself in a dark, damp cave. Confused, he glances down his hands and notices bloodstains. Alarmed, he remembers that the fairy had promised him a new body, but now questions flood his mind. Where did the blood come from? What's happened to him? As he looks around, he notices a group of people nearby staring at him with mocking, taunting smiles. Their expressions make him feel uneasy, as if they are silently ridiculing him. Gradually, he begins to piece things together and suspects that he has somehow ended up in the same place where the previous owner of this body must have died. He comes to the unsettling realization that he has been given the body of a child who had recently passed away. Meanwhile, his own original body must now be inhabited by a completely different soul. Determined to understand his new reality, Mizunori approaches a small pool of water and gazes at his reflection. The face staring back at him is unfamiliar, completely different from the one he had before. Intrigued, he lifts his shirt to examine his new body and marvels at how distinct it is from his old one. Though his situation feels surreal, he finds himself feeling an unexpected sense of joy. He tells himself that he will cherish this second chance and make the most of his new life. Remembering the glass board, he decides to explore it further. He carefully opens the board and begins to study it, wondering how it functions. Unsure of what to do, he speaks aloud, and to his surprise, the board recognizes his voice. Instantly, the skill board activates, and Mizunori begins to realize that his new journey is about to unfold in ways he never imagined. When he activates the skill board, it begins displaying all the skills and abilities associated with the body he now inhabits. He quickly realizes that the previous owner of this body was a skilled hunter named Toru. As he explores further, the board reveals not only basic skills and techniques, but also an overwhelming number of advanced abilities. He is stunned to see such a wide variety of skills and techniques appear before him. Among them are highly specialized skills like Seed Expert, which likely pertains to knowledge of plants and agriculture, and weightlifting, which reflects significant physical strength and endurance. The sheer number and diversity of skills leave him utterly astonished. He wonders how it is even possible for a single person to possess so many abilities. The idea baffles him, and he cannot help but feel a deep sense of admiration for the body's former owner. Examining these abilities further, he becomes increasingly motivated. He tells himself that he must make the most of this second chance. He resolves to utilize this body and its skills to their fullest potential. At the same time, he decides that he will approach his new life with caution, ensuring that he avoids careless mistakes. Meanwhile, in another part of the universe, the angel who facilitated Mizunori's reincarnation is shown lying down, tightly hugging her teddy bear. She seems visibly drained and exhausted, her face reflecting her weariness. She thinks about how difficult it is to exist in this realm, and how even sending a single soul like Mizunori has taken a toll on her. She feels unusually troubled, especially because she sent Mizunori to a world known as Urgard, a place she knows to be extraordinarily dangerous. She reflects on her past experiences, recalling how she has sent 100 people to Urgard before Mizunori, but not a single one of them ever managed to return alive. This grim reality has earned the place its nickname, Hell. She thinks about how this world is unlike any other. It is a realm filled with terrifying monsters, beings so powerful and otherworldly that they could never exist on Earth. The environment is so harsh and unforgiving that no one has been able to survive there for long. She considers the challenges that reincarnated souls face. They are inherently at a disadvantage because their souls are placed into unfamiliar bodies. This sudden and drastic change makes it incredibly difficult for them to adapt and thrive in such a hostile world. However, she acknowledges that the skill board was designed to help mitigate this problem. The board is not an ordinary tool. It contains features that include unique skills capable of removing restrictions imposed by other skills. She muses that despite its potential, no one has ever fully realized the extent of the skill board's abilities. The angel continues reflecting, noting how most people she has sent to Urgard lack the intelligence or determination to use the skill board effectively. However, Mizunori seemed different. She remembers how serious and focused he appeared during their interaction. Unlike many others, he didn't start at 0 skill points, which gives him a small but significant advantage in this perilous journey. This thought brings her a mix of hope and anxiety as she wonders how he will navigate the challenges of this new world. As she hugs her teddy bear tighter, she finds herself curious yet worried about Mizunori's fate. She knows the odds are against him, but something about him makes her think he might defy expectations. Her thoughts drift to the story that is about to unfold, a story about Toru Mizunori, the reincarnated soul who begins his journey in the treacherous world of Urgard. This is the tale of how he overcame impossible odds, rose to the peak of power, and became someone truly extraordinary. Toru Minosuke, who is Mizunori, actually finds himself transported to an entirely different world, equipped with a mysterious and powerful skill board. This extraordinary device is unlike anything he had ever seen, and as he begins to explore its features, he notices significant changes taking place within himself. His stamina, magic, strength, dexterity, agility, intelligence, and luck have all increased by +5, a fact that leaves him astonished. These sudden enhancements make him feel stronger, faster, and more capable than he could have ever imagined. It is as if he has been reborn into a stronger version of himself, ready to face the unknown challenges of this new world. The skill board also reveals a variety of newly acquired abilities, including swordsmanship, magic, and fluency in various languages. These skills are crucial for his survival, enabling him to defend himself from potential threats and communicate effectively with the inhabitants of this unfamiliar realm. The thought of mastering these abilities fills him with a sense of purpose and determination. He realizes that survival in this world will require more than just strength. It will demand intelligence, adaptability, and a willingness to learn. However, one particular skill on the board catches his attention more than all the others: break limit. Unlike the other skills, which are well documented and straightforward, this one is vaguely described. The lack of detail leaves him puzzled and intrigued. It stands apart from the rest, requiring an enormous amount of SP, skill points, to unlock. Its purpose is shrouded in mystery, and the ambiguity both frustrates and excites him. What could this skill possibly do? Why does it require so much SP? Questions race through his mind, but the skill board offers no answers. Toru recalls the advice given to him by God before his reincarnation: trust your instincts and do what you believe is right. With these words echoing in his mind, he decides to take a leap of faith. Despite his uncertainty, he chooses to unlock the skill. He carefully calculates his remaining SP and concludes that his recent gains in strength, magic, and resilience have prepared him to take on this risk. Activating Break Limit feels like a pivotal moment, one that could either elevate him to greatness or lead him into unforeseen dangers. Shortly after activating the mysterious skill, Toru ventures deeper into a dark and foreboding cave. The atmosphere is oppressive, the air damp and filled with an eerie silence that sets him on edge. As he cautiously explores the cavern, his enhanced senses begin to alert him to something moving in the shadows. His improved night vision and heightened sound detection, gifts of his newly acquired skills, allow him to perceive a large, crawling creature approaching him. The creature emerges from the darkness, and Toru's eyes widen in horror. It is a massive worm, grotesque and far larger than anything he had ever seen in his previous life. The sheer size and menacing presence of the creature are overwhelming, and for a moment, fear grips him. This fear, however, is short-lived. Toru quickly gathers his courage and activates his Sense Thought skill. This ability sharpens his focus and allows him to predict the creature's movements. Using this newfound advantage, he launches a swift and calculated attack. To his surprise, the fight was not as difficult as he had feared. His improved skills, instincts, and weapon proficiency enable him to battle the worm effectively. As he fights, he reflects on how much he has grown. Without these new abilities, he would have surely met his end. The realization fills him with gratitude, a deep appreciation for the skill board that has given him the tools to survive. The battle takes a dramatic turn as the worm retaliates, forcing Toru to dig deeper into his arsenal of skills. In a moment of desperation, he activates his sword power. To his amazement, a demonic sword materializes in his hands. The weapon is unlike any he has ever wielded, dark, imposing, and exuding an aura of immense power. Holding the sword fills him with a sense of confidence and determination. He feels as though he is wielding a piece of legend, a weapon capable of cutting through any obstacle. In a heroic display of strength and precision, he uses the sword to deliver a final decisive blow to the creature. The worm collapses, defeated, and Toru stands victorious. As he catches his breath, Toru examines the worm's lifeless body. Its grotesque form fills him with a mix of triumph and unease. He wonders if all insects in this world are this enormous and dangerous. The thought unsettles him, making him question the very nature of this strange new realm. He remembers the cryptic and suspicious demeanor of God during their earlier encounter, and for the first time he begins to understand why. With the battle behind him, Toru notices that his level has increased. A wave of energy courses through him, and he feels stronger, faster, and more capable than ever. The skill board has proven to be an invaluable tool, and he silently vows to make the most of his potential. However, his thoughts are soon interrupted by the realization that more creatures are beginning to emerge from the shadows. The sight is both thrilling and terrifying. Toru knows that this world will demand constant vigilance and adaptation. As he prepares for the challenges ahead, Toru's mind drifts to his past life. Memories of his monotonous existence flood his thoughts, waking up each morning in a cramped apartment, heading to a soul-crushing job, and spending long hours following orders. His life had been a cycle of work, exhaustion, and loneliness. He had no personal connections, no family, no joy. Looking back, he wonders if he had ever truly lived or if he had merely existed. This new world, despite its dangers, feels like a second chance, a chance to break free from the chains of his former life and embrace something greater. Determined to make the most of this opportunity, Toru readies himself for another battle. He activates more of his skills, gripping his demonic sword tightly. With each strike, he feels a growing sense of purpose. The battles are intense, but they leave him exhilarated. For the first time in his life, he feels truly alive. This world, with all its perils and mysteries, represents infinite possibilities. It is a place where he can grow, learn, and become something greater than he ever thought possible. And as he stands amidst the chaos, Toru knows that he is ready to face whatever comes next. This is his story, a story of transformation, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of strength and freedom. After defeating all the creatures in the cave, Toru Minazuki finally takes a moment to rest. He sits down on a large rock, his mind racing with thoughts about everything he has just experienced. The cave, filled with the corpses of strange and terrifying creatures, feels suffocating, but Toru pushes past his discomfort. His victories have been significant, but he cannot shake the unease he feels in this new alien world. As he looks around at the aftermath of the battles, he reflects on his unfamiliarity with the creatures he fought and the new body he inhabits. Though he has gained strength and skills, he is still grappling with the reality of his situation. Each time he defeated an enemy, he felt a surge of energy, a strange lightness that indicated his level had increased. He contemplates this system of leveling up, realizing that every level brings him 10 skill points, which he can use to improve his abilities. However, his thoughts turn to the demon sword he had unlocked, a weapon that initially cost him just 1 SP, but now requires a staggering 1000 SP to upgrade to level 2. Doing the math, Toru figures out that to save up enough SP to enhance the sword, he would need to reach level 101 without spending any points on other skills. The sheer magnitude of this task weighs on him. He begins to wonder if there might be other ways to earn SP, but the answer remains elusive. For now, Toru decides to focus on the immediate task of leaving the cave. The smell of the creature's decaying bodies is becoming unbearable, and the oppressive atmosphere of the cavern is unsettling. However, as he starts to leave, his curiosity gets the better of him. He finds himself drawn deeper into the cave despite the growing sense of danger. His heightened senses, a result of his level-ups, make him acutely aware of the threats lurking in the shadows. The cave feels alive, almost as if it is watching his every move. As he explores further, Toru comes across a steep cliff within the cave. He decides to climb it, thinking it might offer him a better vantage point or lead to something valuable. Carefully, he begins his ascent, but as he nears the top, the rock beneath him crumbles under his weight. He falls to the ground with a loud thud, the impact echoing through the cavern. Despite the fall, Toru is unharmed thanks to the increased strength and resilience he has gained from leveling up. Sitting up, he picks up a fragment of the cliff that broke during his fall. The stone sparkles in the dim light, its surface shining with an almost magical beauty. Holding the stone in his hands, Toru marvels at its brilliance. He muses that such materials might be valuable in this world and considers the possibility of selling them for money. Encouraged by the thought, he pockets the stone and continues his journey through the cave. After what feels like an eternity, he finally emerges into the daylight, the fresh air a welcome relief after the suffocating atmosphere of the cavern. From the mouth of the cave, Toru spots a small, nameless town in the distance. As he approaches the settlement, fragments of memories from the previous owner of his body, a boy named Lid, begin to surface. The memories are faint and fragmented but provide glimpses into Lid's life. Toru learns that Lid once lived in this town, though it is unclear why he was there or what his relationship with the villagers was like. Hoping to learn more, Toru decides to approach the villagers. However, their reaction to him is far from welcoming. As he walks into the town, an elderly woman notices him and immediately begins screaming. She calls him a devil, shouting that he has no place in their village and should not have returned. Another woman standing nearby tries to calm her, warning that angering the devil could have dire consequences. Toru is taken aback by their hostility. Their fear and hatred are palpable, leaving him confused and uneasy. Muttering to himself about how frightening the villagers seem, he decides to explore the town further, hoping to uncover more about Lid's life and why the villagers view him with such disdain. Walking through the village, Toru observes its dilapidated state. The houses are crumbling, the streets are deserted, and an air of poverty hangs over everything. He eventually finds Lid's former home, a small, collapsing structure barely fit for habitation. The sight fills Toru with a mix of sympathy and frustration. Searching the house, he discovers some dried meat, which he eats gratefully. The simple meal fills him with a sense of comfort, and he silently thanks Lid for leaving something behind to help him. He also finds a set of old clothes, which he decides to wear. Through tattered, they make him feel a bit more human in this strange new world. Determined to leave the hostile village behind, Toru activates his storage space skill. This ability allows him to store items in a separate dimension, functioning much like a video game inventory. While immensely useful, the mechanics of where the items are stored remain a mystery to him. Through Lid's fragmented memories, Toru learns that the boy was forbidden from farming in the village and had to rely on hunting to survive. This revelation deepens Toru's understanding of Lid's struggles and the challenges he faced. As Toru prepares to leave, a large man suddenly strikes him on the head with a heavy rock. The blow sends Toru tumbling to the ground. Before he can react, two more men join the attacker, discussing among themselves that Toru is a devil and wondering how he is still alive. They decide to finish him off to ensure he doesn't return. Hearing their words, Toru quickly decides to feign unconsciousness. Thanks to his increased strength and resilience, the blow doesn't hurt him as much as the men think. While lying still, he listens carefully to their conversation and realizes these men might have been the ones who killed Lid in the first place. One of the men suggests tying Toru up with ropes. The group drags him away, assuming he is unconscious. Toru allows them to do so, seeing this as an opportunity to gather more information and potentially escape the village. As he is being dragged, he wonders why the villagers hate him, or rather, hate Lid so much. Determined to uncover the truth, Toru resolves to use the body he now inhabits to investigate the events that led to Lid's death. The mystery intrigues him, giving him a newfound purpose in this dangerous, mysterious world. Vira, Robert, and their leader Clement carry Lid's seemingly lifeless body toward a secluded place, under the assumption that he is dead. However, Mizunori, now inhabiting Lid's body, watches silently, wondering why these individuals are so intent on killing him. His mind races, trying to piece together their motives. He considers confronting them directly, but then recalls that if he speaks, they will know that Lid is alive. Realizing that revealing himself would only worsen the situation, he decides to stay quiet and observe. The group carries him back to the cave, a place that seems to be used for disposing of the bodies of those they deem unworthy. As they reach the cave, Mizunori realizes that this is likely where they bring people like Lid, people they believe are expendable. With disgust and hatred in their eyes, they throw him into the cave, treating him as if he were nothing more than garbage. His body is flung from a cliff, landing in a lower area far below. Clement, Virar, and Robert all believe that this time Lid will surely die. They turn away, convinced that they have rid themselves of him for good. But Mizunori, despite the fall, is unharmed. He stands up, brushing off the dirt from his clothes as if nothing had happened. The shock on their faces is immediate. They stare in disbelief, unable to comprehend how Lid could possibly survive such an ordeal, completely unscathed. Mizunori, now fully aware of their intentions, decides to speak, but his voice remains calm and measured. "Calm down and listen to me carefully," he says. However, the three men are not interested in listening. Instead, they shut him down, telling him that if he's still alive, it must mean that he desires a painful death. They are clearly not willing to entertain the idea of mercy. One of them, fueled by anger and a thirst for vengeance, picks up a heavy axe and charges at Mizunori, intent on killing him. With a single powerful swing, the axe strikes Lid with full force. But to their astonishment, Lid does not even flinch. He remains standing, unwavering, as if the axe had hit nothing more than a wall. The three men stare in disbelief, their jaws dropping in shock. They are unsure of what is happening. Clement, with a mix of fear and confusion, demands to know if Lid is truly alive or if something else entirely is at play. Mizunori, still calm, pats himself on the shoulder. As he does, a strange energy surges through him, and he gives a gentle push to the air. The simple motion is enough to send one of the men stumbling backward, feeling as though he had been struck with immense force. The power in Lid's body is unlike anything they could have anticipated. The man, now visibly shaken, collapses, losing consciousness from the sheer force of the touch. The other two are equally stunned. One of them, determined to finish the job, draws a weapon and rushes at Mizunori. But once again, Lid remains untouched, unaffected by their futile attempts to harm him. His composure only deepens their fear and anger, and the air becomes thick with tension. Then Robert steps forward, his confidence radiating. He declares that he is the strongest of the three and that he will make Lid pay for everything. His words are full of anger and pride, and he is determined to put an end to this. But when Lid sees him charge, he is filled with an unexpected sense of regret. He does not want to harm anyone. His power, even in its basic form, is far beyond what normal humans could endure, and the thought of causing them pain is something he cannot accept. Mizunori's mind races, hoping they will understand his position. His simple touch has the power to make them faint or worse, but he has no desire to fight them. All he wants is to avoid violence. However, these men are not listening. They are driven by their hatred, their desire for revenge, and their misunderstanding of Lid's power. Mizunori finds himself caught in a difficult situation, unable to convince them to back down, yet unwilling to unleash his full strength. As the three men prepare for another attack, the tension builds to a breaking point. Mizunori, still seeking a peaceful resolution, stands firm, silently hoping that they will understand that he is not the monster they believe him to be. Yet, despite his best efforts, it becomes clear that these men are beyond reason. The battle is about to begin, but in Mizunori's heart, there is only a sense of sorrow. He does not want to hurt anyone, but in this cruel world, it seems that violence may be the only way to survive.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.